Welcome to the MaxBet podcast, a podcast dedicated to everything gaming. I'm Landon Jones, here with Mike McKiskey. Let's get started. Let's go. Hopefully the dog doesn't mess up the podcast.
That's how it goes sometimes, man.
Dogs mess up podcasts?
That dog.
Messing it up already.
You want to let him out?
No, because he's going to go try to kill the guy that's delivering sausages out front. I feel like doing the cheesy intro again, but I don't know why it's always awkward when Mike and I start these intros. It's just weird to start the energy flow. Whether it's just he and I doing it or we're bringing someone into the podcast, there's always this awkward, who's going to say something first?
Well, you know why? Because it's like you're already talking. So when you film an interview, it's not like they just walk in the door silently and then sit in the chair with no words spoken. Then you go, hey, So you walk in, you're naturally giving hugs, you're high fiving, then you're talking about life and catching up. How was the trip? Blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden it's, hey, welcome into the show, right? So there's that weird, getting started is the most awkward part.
Yeah, sometimes we have conversations for 30 minutes, which I wish were recorded because there's a lot of good combos that happen with the pre-show combos. But if you're listening and you're not watching, I will just give you the description. Mike is currently sitting in front of me with a blue, somewhat of a flag draped over him.
Yeah.
I know what the flag is.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
It's the other Rebels. So you and I are UNLV Rebels, and the other Rebels are the Ole Miss Rebels down in Oxford, Mississippi. So our good friend Robert Perry sent us a flag. We called for wall art. He sent us the Ole Miss 3x5 here.
The old 3x5, the old standard 3x5.
The old 3x5 flag. I got a couple of these in my garage, but not Ole Miss. But anyway, so it's like, so I just put it on. It came in the mail. So I
looks good on you, bro.
Thank you. I felt like I should cape up today.
Can you fly?
Can't fly.
Did you have a Red Bull this morning?
Nope.
Gives you wings.
Yeah, you're the Red Bull guy.
Yeah, that is not a paid for advertisement.
Yeah, no free ads.
You said you were hanging that in the bathroom.
In your bathroom, yeah. I thought it would be good. Thought you'd like to see it every day. You spend more time in there than anybody, so you may as well just hang out, get it going.
It's tough.
It's tough having that head of hair, right? You're like, you know how much time this takes.
I don't know what this head of hair has anything to do with me in the bathroom.
Well,
I got it.
Come on, buddy. What are you talking about?
Doing the hair. All right, that was awkward.
That's how we are.
We also
these are cool.
These are cool. These are.
So these are like booze holders. I don't know if you can see this. So these are booze holders. Got the MaxBet skull on it.
Yeah.
It's from our friends at Elixis Technology. So they're cheersing us. So that's really cool.
What does Elixis do?
IT outsourcing, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I should probably meet them and do more. But they they said. So when I looked it up, it basically that's okay. The way. I should ask you these things and just watch you panic. When I looked them up, they're like outsourced IT. So when you look at it, it's like, hey, if you got problems and you don't have an IT department, or if your IT department needs help, they're available to help you.
They're your team.
They could be. Yeah. Just got to give them a call. Elixis, Elixis Technology. Find them on LinkedIn. I know their guys follow us, and they're always pretty engaged. So
we're going to get these filled up.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what do you want to put in here? So my problem is, here's what we were just talking about. I will drink it. So if you and I just said, all right, I'm a scotch guy. I was going to put it in there. I'll just find a reason to reach over and go, hey, I have a little scotch while I'm doing my 3:00 Zoom call with whoever it is talking about, whatever. So I'm like, I want to fill it up, but I almost need to fill it up and put it in your office and not be so readily available.
Well, the funny thing about your office is it's my office.
I know,
so
but
scary.
But I'd have to walk over to it, which is as long as it's out of arm's reach.
So we just have to create a second step for you, is what you're telling me.
Yeah. I need at least one barrier to it, because then chances are I'm going to go, I'm not going 26.
Do we have any other cool shout outs? Not even just things that people have sent us. Do we have any other fun shout outs just to cool people that you want to say, hey, you're cool?
There's so many cool people.
Yeah.
No, just on the spot going, I don't know. It was cool.
Shout out to all our listeners.
Everybody, man.
Everybody.
Yeah, it's fun. I think, it's weird because as soon as you say that, I'm flooded with all the different people that have been helping us or advising us or, doing different things. So It's pretty cool. But people have been sending us stuff, or we've been getting texts. Hey, we got artwork on the way. So I'm excited to see what some of these. I saw the picture of one of them, that angel, is like the angel with the tattooed angel wings. I
think it's cool. It's like 8 feet tall.
I want that for just my own. I don't have a collection.
You can't start just stealing all the art.
No,
I'm not
going to
start frog.
I'm going to steal. The frog is amazing.
Okay.
I don't want. I'm not saying I'm taking it. Like, it's obviously staying in the office, but I'm like, that thing is cool. And down goes the flag. Yeah. How's your? Speaking of the office, you've been getting pretty good at ping pong. Is there tips and tricks you're working through? You like going home YouTube videoing it?
I'm a spider monkey, man.
That's true. But you're like what? You've lost once.
Small and nimble.
You're like 98-2 or something like that.
Well, I was the reigning champ for a little while, but I'm not very good at ping pong, so that just tells me how bad you guys are.
Yeah, we just bring in bad competition. That's
but yeah, man, we have an exciting guest today coming in from my previous hometown, San Diego. And we're excited to have Mr. Rob Cinelli on the show.
He's a fun guy.
He is a fun guy.
He's it's a total stud move right there. Just being Rob Cinelli. They should make that move, like the movie, like they did.
Be Rob Cinelli.
You know that movie, that Being John Malkovich. They should just being Rob Cinelli.
It's a big shout out to you, Rob.
Such an interesting cat.
As you're listening to this before we bring you in, but I'm excited to get his perspective on everything that's going on in the business. One, because he has this operator hat on today. He's the GM of Sycuan Casino, but also because of his history in the past, right? He worked for a bunch of corporate run casinos. Now he's obviously running a tribal run casino, but he's also been in the vendor space. So he's going to have a good eye on a lot of the things that we're talking about, and a lot of things that we know, but
we're trying,
things that we're learning on his side as well. So I'm excited to chat with him.
Yeah.
What else is exciting you, brother?
We got MaxBetTV.com is pretty much coming forward more every day. So that's fun. Like trying to wrangle some of the top creators and build them a home. And so that's pretty exciting.
If you guys haven't checked it out, today is actually our first official go live day.
You're starting to hear more about it. So we built it, over the holidays, and it's been kind of like, well, it's there. I'm not really telling everybody about it. Right. And now it's like, we're going to tell people, and we're not paying for users yet, but we're in a position to say, look, you can go check it out, see if you like it. If you create content, start a profile, like that kind of stuff. And then, just better and better each day. Amazon's clicking in for us. So it's been
provocative.
It gets the people going. Skate to one song and one song only. But I think that's where, that's exciting. So that's been, it's like the most of our time, right? And you sit there and you're like behind the scenes for months. And now it's like, where the world is starting to find this thing. And we'll see what they think. Yeah,
it's an interesting world to see this kind of influencer marketing kind of clash of the clans, we'll call it. Like how do we market best to our guests, our end users? We're trying to figure that out. And I think we have a pretty good concept.
We'll see.
Idea.
Yeah, I'm excited. So everybody go check it out. MaxBetTV.com, and let us know if you think it's weird or awesome or somewhere in between. Let us know. And
So what else are we doing to kind of push that message, the influencer message?
I should ask you, buddy. You're more excited. You're so excited. So we're going to Grayton.
Yeah.
Right. We're going up north. We're head north, young man. So you talk about it. You're the content creator that's kind of putting us all together. So
I'm not. The MaxBet Media.
I'm just putting the agreements together to make sure you don't hurt yourself on the job.
Yeah. So what we're doing is we want to kind of showcase this world of gambling through the influencer's eyes, and so we want to do it in this kind of over the top trip. And we were working with Grayton, and Grayton kind of bought into what we wanted to do, and they saw the vision, and so they're our first partners on this project. It's the Grayton Film Project.
Will this be your first time on a private jet?
No.
Okay, it's be my first time on a private jet. So I'm excited.
Oh, you just gave that away. We didn't even. That's the beans.
Boom, the beans. There's a private jet involved.
Yes, so
we're not jumping out of it, but there's a private jet involved.
We have organized 7 of the largest influencers in our space in the brick and mortar slot play, brick and mortar table play.
Yes.
And we're putting 7 influencers on a jet that have a combined total of 1.5 million views a day.
Yeah.
We've hired a couple peanuts. We've hired a full film crew. So like your full Netflix style film crew, audio, lights, camera action. And we're going to document the whole thing. So we're going to give them some cash to go play at Grayton. They're going to stay at Grayton. We're going to do obviously the jet there. We're going to do a couple really nice dinners. We're going to do a wine tour. We're going to do some meet and greets with the guests. We're going to document this whole thing.
More importantly, we're going to gamble.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that.
I know. It's funny working the schedule. It's like, wait. We got to save some time for these people to actual gamble.
When's Giski's allocation of dice time? Or, I guess it's California. So you go, when's the blackjack table run or when's the slot table run? Like, I don't want to sit up there and just talking to a camera all day. We got to go gamble a little bit.
It's pretty exciting. We got a lot of cool things coming. It's not just the podcast. So if you guys are kind of listening to the podcast and want to learn more, hit Mike and I up and we'll explain more about what we're doing at MaxBet Media and MaxBet TV.
Yeah. And if you have higher than a 3rd grade ping pong education, come by and put Landon in his place because he's saucing me and our producer around pretty good. And we want him to shut up. So if you could come by and just dominate him on the tables.
Bring the action.
Yeah, that would be ideal. But with that, if you're still listening, like and subscribe. That always goes a long way. And then let's bring in Man of the Year, Rob Cinelli.
Let's do it.
Bang, bang.
Well, welcome to the show. Yeah.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
We've been talking about getting you on for quite some time now. And I wore the Padres jersey today.
I appreciate that very much.
San Diego.
Up in SoCal. I got to see it. Yeah, it was nice because we were actually talking the other day about all the call outs we've had, right? And so you were called out to jump on the show, and was it who was it? I think it was Sweet's second.
Sweet. Yeah, Sweet.
So Kevin did it, and so we texted you about it, and immediately you're like, I'm in. And it was just like the scheduling of it, right? In multi-cities. So thanks for answering the call. And Kevin is now 2 for 2 because he called out Beltram, who came on.
Yeah.
I watched Beltram's, which was very good. So, I appreciate it. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Yeah, because put me nothing like being put on the spot in front of you.
Well, I woke up that next morning. I had like 3 texts from people going, "You got called out. You got called out."
On the back
out. What? And then I figured it out.
Like, oh, these two knuckleheads. Well, we're honored. You land in Vegas, first stop, podcast studio. So we're grateful for you, man.
Thanks for having me, guys. Seriously, I'm really happy for you guys. This is great.
Yeah. So what have you been up to lately? I mean, it's just no big deal. Just running a casino
busy,
down there.
Yeah. It's been good. COVID, obviously, we thought it was going away.
Yeah.
I think everyone kind of thought it was in the rearview mirror, but it's obviously not. This new Omicron virus has kind of put us right back to this. I mean, I wouldn't say right back to the start because we know so much more about the virus and so on and so forth. But from a business perspective, it's definitely set us back some. We still have the majority of our restaurants still closed. Wow. We have to close some earlier than expected. We can't open some. Sometimes we have to close the TDR when we don't want to. So it's definitely caused us issues, but I think everybody's so used to working through those issues by this time. It's been almost 2 years now. But I will tell you, I mean, there's certainly no silver lining to COVID. I would never say that. But what it has done for us, especially when the rest of the city was closed, is it introduced a lot of San Diego to Sycuan that wouldn't have normally been there. And they are, and they're coming back, which is, you would think that once everything kind of started opening back up, that they would head back to their normal spots, downtown, whatever it is. But they're coming back and saying, I think people get out there and didn't realize what was out there.
Sure.
You know, and they walk in and they're like, wow, this looks like a Vegas casino, and the pool looks like a Vegas pool, and the steakhouse is like that sort of thing. And it's just good because I think that's happened with all of our competitors as well. Guillermo and Viejas and Bro. And I think people are being introduced to tribal gaming more so because they didn't have anywhere to go for a couple months there. Yeah,
we've heard that with casinos. A lot of places like, hey, we were able to open prior to the movies, prior to sports coming back with attendees. So hey, you want to do something? You've been stuck in your house for however long you've been isolated. Now it's like, why not? And even if you're not gambling, why not go have a bite to eat because it's a great meal? But who's shutting you down now? Because one thing I was, Sycuan, I mean, we've known you guys as a casino for a while, but it's like one thing you took a leadership position, I think a little bit in the early days of the pandemic when you were when the world was reopening. Mm-hmm. Because I remember, I think maybe you were attributed a few quotes, but like, I want to say the tribal chair and like the real tribal, you guys said, guys, this isn't just about making money and doing a casino. Like our health clinics are funded, our emergency, services are funded. It's like our schools. And it's like, wow, is it really the first time I really registered like, oh, yeah, that's right. Like this is lives and there's thousands of people in that area that depend upon some of the income. So I thought you guys did a pretty good job safety wise, implementing everything, reopening, but you're saying you're being shut down. Now, what is it just prudent? Like you guys are making the right steps or who's telling you?
Really, it's just labor. I mean, we have people out and it's not so much that obviously we have positive cases like everybody else, but it's more about the policies that we have in place. So if you come in contact with somebody that's positive, that's in your home,
you got to go sit out
for 5 days. So, I mean, we had, 8-9% of our workforce out for a little bit. Now it's starting to turn around. You're starting to see a really steep decline. But yeah, that was kind of our message. The state at the time, they were muscling us a little bit to stay closed, and we did for 60 days, which I think was plenty of time. We were all kind of, that was the other good thing, is the tribal, all of our competitors came together. I mean, I'm still on a call today with 20 of my 20 plus of my counterparts throughout California, and we compare notes. Still to today. That's smart. And that was put together by Bruce Howard out of Valley View. Really good guy, and it's just grown. It was just Southern California, then it kind of went up to Shumash, and now it's all the way up to Northern California. So we do that, and we kind of just compare notes, and it's the same story. It's like, you're exactly right, Mike. Everything we do at that casino goes right back into the reservation, goes right back into the fire department, building houses for tribal members, goes back into the community. I mean, you guys know Sycuan. I mean, they're so charitable. It's crazy.
It's so true. I was going to say that on some point in this pod, like living in San Diego, just seeing your guys is not just ads everywhere, but just you guys are involved in everything. Tons of charity events. You guys really do give back to the community. I mean, it's very apparent just even living in downtown San Diego. But go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I'll tell you a quick story. So the tsunami that happened near the Pacific Islands and all of that, and that was kind of not on everyone's radar.
Just recently, a couple weeks ago.
This was just there was a tsunami warning for San Diego. Nobody took it overly seriously, or people at the beach when they were telling them don't be at the beach, that sort of thing. And didn't think much of it from a donation standpoint, because what can we actually do?
Right.
And 2 days later, I got a call from our chairman saying, hey, I think that we should find somewhere to give some money to help this cause. And so I call the lady named Lauren, who runs all of our charitable donations and community outreach, and she did some homework and found a great organization that's handling all that, and we wrote them a check. So it's cool. It's like, it's not just your standard. We do all the standards, of course, but just for him to think that way, that's how Sycuan thinks. And what really put it in perspective for me was, and this also came from either chairman or vice chairman, that said, it wasn't long ago, it was only a few generations ago, that we were on the receiving end of a lot of these donations. Now that we could be on the giving end, we prefer that. And so they take it very seriously. There's no doubt.
Pretty cool to see. I mean, it's neat to give back, and you guys have done a great job. So you mentioned that you guys are seeing a lot more traffic. Like, you guys have maybe gotten more exposure after or during the pandemic, and you guys are getting different guests and continuing to stay busy. Mike, you brought this up earlier. I don't mean to
That's right. Go for it.
Steal your question, but if you've ever been to San Diego market, there's a lot of casinos.
Super competitive.
You've got Barona, Viejas, Sycuan, Jamul, and then just if you go a little bit north, you've got the Pachangas, and you guys have a lot of competition. So outside of like setting yourself as this all-encompassing resort, which you guys have done a great job, and now you're starting to reap the benefits of that, how do you separate yourself from your competition?
I think the biggest change that we made when I came in, I've been there, believe it or not, going just over 2 years. So December of 2019, I started. The pandemic hit in March. It was only a few months. I brought in a few folks with me, and the biggest change I always say that we made is on the marketing side. Yeah. And what Sycuan did a lot of was they did a lot of external marketing. So you saw a lot of billboards. You saw a lot of bus wraps. Right. And every bus that went by, the trolley was wrapped. And our thought was, how do you quantify that? Right? We're spending all this money, millions and millions of dollars a year on this external marketing, and you can't quantify if that's really bringing a customer in. We're going into at that time they were going into La Jolla and Del Mar and trying to get customers from up there, when really our customers were already there. Our customers are within our 30-mile radius. Really, that's really who we go after. Yep. So we certainly didn't cut off all external marketing, and this isn't a very scientific term for it. That's just what we call it. We've taken that external marketing, reduced it by quite a bit, and now we spend that on internal marketing. So back in reinvestment. Yeah. So while we were trying to spend all this money to bring in customers that we didn't know whether or not they were going to come or not, and if they did come, we didn't know if they were going to spend money or not. Right. And while we were doing that, we maybe weren't paying as close of attention to our actual guests that were coming. Yeah. So when we flipped that and we changed the reinvestment, we changed the way we spread out our offers, our promotions, our multipliers, all of that stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong. When I came in, there was a good framework there. The previous management team did a good job. It's just when they built this, the additional hotel and pool and
there was different things.
There was a big need to cover that, the amount that it cost to build that thing. So that was really our biggest change, and it's made a huge difference because our goal was to say, hey, how can we get 1 or 2 more trips a week out of that customer and keep them from going from one of our competitors? So the trick was bringing them in with a promo or an offer or something like that. And that was paid for by money that we weren't spending on billboards and all of that.
Right.
But then the trick beyond that is keeping them. Right. We don't want them to walk in and not have a good time and walk out. So we made sure that before we put that foot forward, we made sure that we had a band in the lobby. We had, food service ready, dialed in, drink service dialed in, everybody saying hello from the minute you pull up.
Yeah.
And I think we've just done a really, really good job at that. And it's so we made a huge effort of really catering to the customers that we have rather than, kind of fishing for customers we don't know are going to bite the hook or not. So
interesting. So you mentioned earlier, you said, hey, in the pandemic, we picked up people that wanted an entertainment experience. Maybe you were the only show in town, but they're coming back. What are they coming back for? Is it for some of these like, hey, now I can go sit at the pool, or is it, I never played blackjack before. Now I like it. Like, are they coming back for the gaming or maybe the whole thing? Or?
I get 4 calls a week from whether it be my hairdresser, barber.
It's okay. Just let it fly. Your hair looks good, by the
way. Anybody. It's like my neighbor, this and that, saying, hey, we want to go back to Sycuan. We really enjoyed it, and it just sounds, it kind of sounds cheesy, but it really just kind of grows from there. And we actually have a program where, we'll hand out, we just call it a random act of kindness. And we'll hand somebody, a free, I was just going to say buffet, but we don't have that, but it's for free spa service or, $50 off of Bull and Bourbon. And again, we're just trying to get them in the door just so that they can experience something, because again, it's surprises them that it is what it is. Right? They're thinking it's something much less, and they walk in and they see it's no different than what you would see here.
It's funny as like a consumer, right? Like the bigger amenities are almost becoming like a standard. So those are just standards. And when you talk about like these fine details, like greeting them with a different greeting when they walk into the door, or having a band, and these are like those fine details that actually make the biggest difference, right? Because
that's where it came up earlier, because I'm sitting there going, man, you guys are doing a great job, but it is very competitive. I mean, like Vegas, similar, like you can go to a new casino, not that long. You don't have like the geographic isolation where someplace in the country you go, well, yeah, you don't like me, but it's 2 hours to the next guy. So what are you going to do? Like, you're probably going to dance with me. Whereas it's 20 minutes, right? It's not an inconvenience. So what do you do to keep that advantage? It sounds like a lot of guest services.
So I'll tell you a quick story. And I know you guys know Lauren Gill. He's actually on the show. Great guy. I love Lauren. And I've just recently gotten to know him and, completely different than what I expect. He's a fun guy. I just wasn't expecting that. I just had never met him. And he came out to meet with us, and we had dinner with him, and he told us, he's like, Rob, I can't, and nobody knew who he was, and I didn't say he was coming, and we didn't set any of this up. And he's Rob, from the minute I pulled up, at that time we didn't have valet because of COVID. The golf cart picked him up from the garage. He's telling me all of this. Got greeted by the security officer. The lady walked me up to my room. Housekeeper said hello. Came down and played at a taxable jackpot. They came over, paid, got me a card. He goes, it was perfect service from start to finish. And I said, come on, you're blowing smoke. You're just being nice here. And he's like, I would never do that. Like that.
He wouldn't, that's for sure.
And we tell that story a lot. Doug, our head of casino, we did a town hall a couple months ago with all team member town hall. And he told that story to the team. And because it is so important that, everybody says hello and everybody addresses our customers, whether you're in housekeeping or EVS or valet or whatever it may be. And that is also spread. That's become contagious throughout the property. So, and again, my first time there, when I interviewed there, very friendly. I mean, really, they really were. But I think we've just tried to step that up a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny. So LG, you mentioned, so former GM, CEO himself, like has run the casino. What I'm always impressed talking to folks like yourself that are in charge of the whole operation is how much of those little details you notice. As a guest, I walk in, and if that housekeeper didn't say hi, I'd be like, that's par for the course. I'm not like even thinking of it, right? I'm like, where's 1205 or whatever, right? Like, but he's going, yep, she said hi. He said hi. It was,
but it would
smooth.
change your day if it does occur, right? Like if a housekeeper stops,
probably
and say, hey, man,
subliminally, right? Like for a regular,
yeah.
like for a non-attuned to detail person like myself, you probably go, yeah, that was cool, right?
Yeah.
Like, but it's probably just the subtle. Hey, it's a little mood boost. And then you go and everything's kind of smooth. Oh, I didn't have to walk the whole way. They got me with my bag. Like, that's nice in the golf cart. Like, it's amazing how many details they could add up.
Barona would always do a good job of that. And you spent some time out in the San Diego market.
They're famous for the cooking.
I mean, they would literally, their gardener would turn around and wave to you as you were driving in. So we have a security booth set up, and if that security guard is not waving when I come in the morning, I'll call our VP of security and go, hey, some are new. We're hiring a lot of new people now, so they may not recognize me or whatever, recognize the car I drive. And,
they shouldn't recognize you.
Yeah,
you don't want them just waving at you.
I'll switch it up every now and again.
The undercover boss, he comes with like a fat mustache.
Drive my neighbor's car once in a while. No, but if they're not waving, I'll call and say, hey, we got to make sure that we're consistent with
friendly
this, because
face.
it's not just, it just has to become natural.
Yeah.
So it's simple. I think, I've always said this. It's marketing, customer service. Now, analytics is in there. Don't get me wrong. I'm huge on analytics. We built a great analytics team. Analytics only paints half of the picture, right? And it's the real world that paints the rest of the picture. And that's really, sometimes I think, operators get a little too bent on the analytics and not enough on the real world, and listening to the people that are on the floor on, hey, no, the numbers say that, but really this is what's going on. And you just kind of take those things and work them into where you finish this whole painted picture that you can see, not just what we think is going to be there.
Yeah, it's interesting because like some of it, you don't necessarily know how you quantify, right? Because you're going, well, I don't know how to quantify the benefit of that guy waving at me. Right. So, but it's probably not a big deal because you don't cost you any more to make them wave or not. Right. But the golf cart, for example, is probably one that does cost money. You got to fuel the cart, buy the cart, staff it. Like, how do you justify something like, or do you look at it and go, okay, we're paying whatever it is, $10 for this guy to drive the golf cart. Am I getting $10? Because the analytics side is going to say, well, wait a minute, like, where are we making that $10 about? I'm just using a number. Or do you just say, look, I just know in my gut as a seasoned operator that this is the right thing to do, and we're just going with that. Like, how do you? Because at some point you have to marry the two, right?
I think most gamblers, they want to feel special,
for sure.
Right? They want to feel like this is their home, and they're going to be treated well, and everybody knows their name, and that whole sort of thing. And that's really what I like about Sycuan versus the commercial side of the business here. And I love what I did in Vegas. Don't get me wrong, but I see my customers 3-4 days a week, or in our top customers in Vegas, I would see 2 or 3 times a year at the most.
Sure.
So you really build a relationship with them. And when my first 6 months there, literally 90% of my time was meeting with customers and team members.
Yeah, right.
That's really who you get most of your information from. And we have customers that are vested in our business. They don't say you, they say we. So when they refer to Sycuan, they say we. We should do this. We should do that. We should do this.
That's wild too. Even looking at like the team members, right? We'll call like creating that culture within your team that believes in that story that you're trying to tell. Because if I'm the security guy and I hate my job and I hate like whatever casino I'm working at is doing, they're like, you need to wave every day. Well, this is the wave that I'm going to be giving, because I'm not stoked
not the
on
happy
it.
fun wave. Yeah,
but if you truly believe in the mission that you guys are trying to press, then I'm excited.
Landon's giving you the sad prom queen, the little I don't care anymore.
Good luck. Enjoy your video poker, loser.
Was Sycuan your first go running a tribal operation?
Other than when I was at WMS for 10 years.
Yeah.
So it's funny. This past November, I've actually been on the operator side officially longer than on the manufacturing side. I was 10 years on the manufacturing side. I'm 10 years in 1 month now on the operator side. So I was familiar with it through working on the on the manufacturing side, but on an operation side, I wasn't. This is my first.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, because I mean, you're big in Vegas, and you did some time overseas, right, with the Sands Corp, and then you come back, and now you're in a different world. Because as much as I'm sure Asia's different and Vegas different, what jumped out? Was it this interaction of 3-4 times a week with top players, or what was the biggest thing? You go, oh, this is a different world now. I'm in tribal operations.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very fortunate to have worked for Sands, and remember they had a property in Pennsylvania, I learned the Pennsylvania market, the Macau market, the Singapore market, and they're all very different markets. And I already I knew the California market from my days at WMS. Sure. And again, they're all just different markets. Vegas is different. California is different than Singapore. Singapore is different than Macau. But in Macau and Singapore, it's a little different. And not to say I didn't enjoy my time out there, because I did. But what I like about what we do is the getting to know your customers, the kind of the fun part of what we do.
Yep.
Singapore and Macau, it's especially for the premium mass, premium guests. They're there to win. It's a job. Right. Like there's not a lot of hobnobbing and slapping high fives at the table and that sort of thing. So you've got to adjust to that. When I was there, the gentleman that was running the casino there came up with a really good idea, which was Singapore to try and just try to initiate conversation. We came up with something called a passion badge. This wasn't my idea. This was this gentleman's idea. And it would just say interested in video games or wine. And it would just kind of try to spark that conversation.
You like video games? Which one? Oh, sorry.
But it didn't necessarily work, right? It still just didn't have that. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it didn't work. It was a great idea, but that's just how that market is. Yeah. They're just they're just there to play, and that's what they want to do. Here, and in Vegas, to an extent, they're there to gamble, have fun, that sort of thing. So that's what I like so much about what we do, and that's what I like specifically about Sycuan is that we brought a lot of fun to Sycuan. So you walk in, they built this big building. It could be cavernous if you let it, but we put bands in the lobby. Tuesday afternoon there'll be a band in there. Doesn't cost a whole lot of money. It gives sound, and it sounds simple, but these are the things that I think have really got people when they walk in that door, they feel the energy, and that's really what our goal was.
You were going to incorporate passion badges at Sycuan.
What's your badge?
What would be your badge, and what would be your passion?
Bourbon. No,
really? Okay, that's not wrong answer. That's a great answer.
You might get a lot of sparks.
That's it. Yeah.
We weren't allowed to use alcohol. That's what it's funny you say that because I wanted to put wine on mine.
Oh, right.
I had ended up with family because that is my passion, but we would make it a little bit more fun than what we were able to do in Singapore. But
interesting.
Yeah, mine would probably still be family.
So you mentioned wine and bourbon. If you had to choose one of those, which was wine the prevailing?
I thought we had no bourbon.
Bourbon. Yeah, that's what I was asking. I didn't know which is which. Yeah, I was just curious.
You almost said Pappy Van Winkle.
Yeah, I thought you had Pappy for me. No,
Do I?
that was the parting gift.
Landon overpromised that one. Jeez. Yeah, that's wild. That's a world. So it's funny. Both of those worlds are for me. I love it. I can drink it, but I'm not in any way cultured enough to know. You start getting into scotches or bourbons and you're like, man, okay, this I like it. I don't know why. Like people I'm sure you could go, oh, it's peaty and that means it's probably from the Highlands or whatever the rules are of it. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Please talk to me about it.
I'm by no means an expert. It's for me, it's just easy. Bourbon neat, they hand it and done. If you're at a Padres game or whatever it may be. But my Singapore experience, what I learned the most there was on the reinvestment side and how you take care of guests and how specific they are to what they're getting and what they know. And that's very important, which regardless of what market you're in, customers know what they're getting and what they've earned. Sometimes they think they deserve more than what they've earned.
Outkicked it,
most of the time. But that's why it takes that relationship between the host and the guest to really. That's the other thing that we changed is we had this very kind of transactional host department where someone would come up, ask for free play, we'd hand them free play, and boom, a kiosk could do that. That's really not what we wanted to do. We wanted to make sure that the hosts are able to say, hey, you've got $100 in comps. Why don't we go, grab something to eat, or let me take you for your birthday lunch, or whatever it may be, and build that relationship. And I learned that a lot in Singapore because as much of a business as it was for the guests, the reinvestment side of it was so important because there was so much traffic going through that place that if you were just a few points off on the reinvestment, that's hundreds of millions of dollars a year that it cost you. So I really learned a really good lesson as it relates to that and brought that back.
Yeah. So when you're breaking down reinvestment, I'm assuming it starts at a macro level. You say, and I'll just use the 100 million example you said. So we've made 100 million revenue. We're going to reinvest X percentage. And I don't necessarily expect you to spill the sauce there. So let's say it's 10% because it's easy math. How personal can that get as you drill in? Because you're going to say, yeah, we're going to reinvest, let's say 10%, but Lannon's a massive player and I'm just a regular guy. Like, how targeted can you now make it? Like, are the tools available where you go, hey, we know he's a Padres guy, we know he's a bourbon drinker, so I'm not just going to give him free play, but when he comes in, I'm going to give him a bottle of Pappy and who's the new player on the latest Padres jersey. Like, is that sophisticated now? Or are we still in a world where it's like, well, we're almost there?
We dial it down to we know exactly what's reinvested. Now, the problem with that is you're never going to get the play side exactly right.
Sure.
So, you know, I joke and I tell everybody, you know, make your first bet your highest bet, because that's what's going into the system.
Oh, interesting.
You know, and sometimes it's hard for a pit, you know.
Is that tables you mean?
Yeah, tables, right. So sometimes it's hard. Not slots, you get it down to penny, right? So, but on the table game side, it's hard. If you're up in your bet and back in your bet, you can't expect the pit manager to be able to, you know, get in the system and change it every time. And it's tough to create a technology that solves for that. I know a lot of people have tried, and there's still people that are trying, whether that be RFID chips or whatever it may be. But that's the harder part is getting that piece right. I mean, we know exactly what we've reinvested back into those guests, but we don't know if it's, you know, 70% or 30%. I mean, maybe not that big of a difference, but if we don't have their play right, then we don't have their reinvestment right. Yeah. So we've done a lot of training with our table games folks to make sure that they are paying attention to when somebody ups their bet or pulls their bet back, or, you know, whatever it may be. So that's helped a lot.
Even like strategy players that have a higher advantage, they should technically get less, you know, payback, because they're playing at a higher advantage. If you have
like in a blackjack or a video like poker type of thing,
that makes all the wrong decisions, like I should be worth more as a player because I'm going to ultimately lose more money.
Well, should he? I mean, I don't know.
The other tricky part of it is that people feel as though they don't look at players, I should say, don't look at reinvestment as, how do I put? They feel they've earned that, right? So they go, I got $100 in free play. I earned that. What else are you giving me? Right. You know, and it's like, well, that is your reinvestment.
That's what we're giving
you. You can take that $100 and comp a room, but it's one, you know, you don't get that and this and this and that.
It doesn't say if you lose, you get 10%. Here's more, right? Yeah.
So it's taken a little bit of educating customers and guests and on, you know, we don't do a class on reinvestment by any means, but again, that's why that host relationship is so important with the customer, because the customer has to understand that, you know, we're in business, you know. So
is there a world where that could be? I mean, it's weird, probably especially in a competitive market where you go, look, if we just told all the customers that based on your level, you're going to get X% reinvestment. And for you, it flowed to you in free play because we don't know you well enough to know you want something else. Would they probably understand it? But then it gives away your competitive formulas, right? So you can't really say it. But is there a world where transparency maybe comes to bear a little in the future, or is it just going to be one of those hidden secrets?
It could be. I mean, if somebody asks what their reinvestment is, we'll show them. I mean, it's not a secret. Like, well, you know, we show them what we reinvested in them, and they go, "Oh, I didn't know that coffee went towards my reinvestment, or, you know, that buffet went towards my reinvestment." Because we give, when the buffet was still open, we used to give all of our black card holders
is black the highest
buffet. Black's the highest. Yeah. And we'd give them 2 free buffets a day, which that's like
a lot of food.
And so when they would use that would go against their reinvestment. But in their mind, they just think that's something that they've earned. So, you know, we've had to kind of, you know, do a little bit of training on that. But if anybody asks us, any of our customers ask us, hey, what's my reinvestment? We show it to them. It's
how locked down is that? I wonder. So like when you're talking, again, I've never run a casino, so if these are dumb questions, forgive me. But like when I go to Hilton, for example, I check in and they'll go, hey, do you want points or do you want breakfast? And a lot of times, especially when we're working at other company, I'm like, they're going to pay for breakfast. I'll take the points because I can expense the breakfast. So I got a choice. And I know the points weren't really that many and that it would take me a lot of free breakfast to get a room. But it's like, hey, I got a say in that. Like if somebody flagged it and said, well, wait a minute, I'm not even eating all these buffets. You're giving me all these meals I don't even eat. Could they opt into, all right, skip that, give me baseball ticks or whatever the example is.
We wouldn't charge them $60 unless they used it. Yeah, they had to swipe their card. And if they weren't using it, we weren't.
Then they just hold it in reserve.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing that, you know, what we have gotten better at with the pandemic is when we closed down the buffet, we had to figure out something else to do, right, with that money. And so what we ended up doing, which is operationally it's tough because the kitchens weren't built to do this, but we now offer a $60 food credit or a $30 food credit. So 60 for our highest, which is black cards, and then diamond. And they like that much better because typically our black card holders, they weren't buffet folks anyway. Yeah. So they didn't really see that as a benefit. Now they see the $60 food credit as a big benefit. So they'll come in order to go food, and it doesn't accumulate. It's not like if you don't use it that day, you get 120 the next day.
It's per day. Use it or lose it.
It's per day. Use it or lose it. And it brings a lot of people in. But what it's doing operationally is creating a lot of to-go orders, and these kitchens weren't really built for to-go orders. And we're already struggling with staffing in a lot of our restaurants. So to add that on top of it, it makes it difficult. But we are we're trying to come up with a concept that's not quite a buffet. It's not quite a food court. It's something in the middle. But there's more to come on that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Go back to the beginning. The thing can make these competitive advantages is the thought leadership you're putting behind this, because you're going, well, wait a minute, like I solve a problem for this guy, or this lady or the couple or whatever, where you say, hey, they're sitting at the casino 4 hours, they like to play whatever their games are, but now they got to go, and it's like, I'm a little tired, I don't want to cook dinner. I can get a free burger to go, and I'm covered, and it's a great piece of food because you guys have great culinary stuff, and it's like, how cool is that? Like, I think some of that is where you're going to say, well, I'll go there because I get a meal with my play every day instead of just something else somewhere else, right? I think it'll be.
And our customers are vocal enough. I'll probably wake up to 2 messages a week, maybe, and it's calmed down a lot. I've tried to push a lot of them off to Doug, but sorry, Doug. Sorry, Doug.
I'll be you, Doug.
But I'll get messages in the morning. Oh, hey, ate at Rank and File, and the chicken wings were undercooked. And it's like, man, I might have given my number out one too many times.
Yeah, exactly.
But really, that's how much they care about. I don't think they're saying it to complain about their own meal. They're saying it to make sure that we get
FYI,
and which is helpful.
They're not asking for the free wings voucher. They just want to make sure everybody's getting. Maybe they are. Yeah. You'd probably do that inevitably. All right, I'll get you more wings, right? No big deal. Oh, that's funny.
It's like the help you comp. Hey, I helped your restaurant get better. Yeah, you owe me a comp.
You get that a lot. That's pretty wild. So you've done a lot of fun stuff, I want to say, in the biz, right? So not necessarily from a gambling perspective, but like an experience thing. Like what's maybe one of the cooler things you can say, oh, I got to do that based on being associated with games. Doesn't have to be Sycuan, it could be anywhere in your career.
Living in Singapore. Yeah, right. And that was, cool. when I first found out I had to go there, I'll be honest, I wasn't overly happy about it. But Mr. Goldstein, Rob Goldstein, is who wanted to send me out there. And really, it was really meant for me to go out and kind of get a crash course on baccarat, because baccarat was a big business, at the Venetian at the time, and even in Vegas. And so I went out there for 6 months, took the family out there. When I learned how to go out there, I wasn't overly happy about it, but in looking back at it, it was a really good experience.
And is that one of those that say, so Rob, you're going to Singapore? Like they just tell you you're going?
Pretty much.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't know how that gets delivered.
Yeah, I mean, Rob he's one of the nicest guys in the biz. So he, if I would have pushed back, he probably would have
accommodated.
But I trust him that there was a good reason behind it, and there really was. I came back knowing that it's a different market, and it's really hard to have the folks that are running that market try to also run the Vegas market, because they're two different markets, So it showed me a lot. So living in Singapore was probably one of the highlights for us. My wife loved it out there. The kids loved it out there. It was good. And then just getting to work with really smart people. Sure. You mentioned Beltram, smart guy. Eric Person, he's who got me into this side of the business. Smartest guy I know, really. So it's been great. And the same thing on the manufacturing side. When I was at WMS, they're kind of the ones. They were kind of the trailblazers when it came to hiring younger folks, from a good school, really with no sales experience, but maybe an analytical background or whatever it may be. And we were all kind of like rolling our eyes, going, our seasoned sales guys are kind of rolling. I was
gonna say, where'd you go to school? They picked you out of the Ivies or what? Yeah.
And that's what they were doing, and it really worked out well. So I think you start to see a little bit more of that. So it's just been, it's been cool to see the industry change.
Speaking of like change in the business, I mean, you've been on the corporate side, you've been on the tribal gaming side, you've also been on the vendor side. So you've really had like a pretty good experience in all these different sectors. Looking at the business going forward, what excites you most? Like looking at the future of gaming, where it's going, maybe sports betting or online gaming. What excites you most about the future for our industry?
This is going to sound like a weird answer, but I think the unknown is what's exciting, because we don't know what's going to happen. And there's a few different bills out there in Southern California, and you got the big guys coming in, and the tribes, they yield a lot of power out there in the state. So it's going to be interesting to see where all of this goes. So that's one, online gaming and sports betting, and we know our stance, which is brick and mortar, maybe mobile, but geo-fence to the property, tribal only, that sort of thing. We hope that's the direction it goes. I think the other thing, at least that's at the top of our mind, a lot of discussions we have is this whole cashless discussion.
Yep.
You know, and I'm not a huge fan of the cashless wallet. I think I've got to become one because we're going in that direction. Yep. The industry.
Why are you hesitant? Like if you're kind of on the maybe cautious side or the not quite there yet side, what's stopping you?
Well, I'm thinking mostly in the California market. I look at, somebody, are they really going to have 4 different wallets on their phone? Because unless these different companies are playing nice in the sandbox, their wallets aren't going to marry. So you might have, VAS might have Every, we might have,
Sightline or
whoever else. And so to me, it just gets kind of messy. What our goal is right now is getting cash to the floor. So, we use Global Pay, Christopher Justice with Global Pay, another great guy in the business. His check cashing program is huge for us. We are now starting to work with Marker Tracks, which Charlie and we go way back. And I'm a huge fan of that product. So I'm more interested in getting money to the floor more so than I am where they're going to put that money.
Right.
Which is going to go in their wallet, their bank account, or in some cashless phone app. That's what interests us more. And we had a big meeting, a couple of weeks ago, and it's hard to say what direction you're going to go because it really depends on which system you have. The saying is always your favorite system is the one you don't have.
Yeah.
And again, we have a risk guide. Nothing. We have no problem. They work with us, and we sat down a few weeks ago and went through their roadmap, and it's pretty impressive.
Feeling good,
but it's still, we have to have A accomplished in order for us to move to B. We have to have B accomplished before we can move to C.
Yeah.
It's hard to make a decision. We don't have all the variables. So that's the unknown, I guess, would be the answer to that question.
I love it. By the way, I love the geo-fencing and the online gaming. I think that the tribal should be, I think that's how it should be, just to protect the business, the industry as a whole, right? And I see like this big metaverse and virtual gaming and going into casinos virtually. It's going to get pretty crazy, and it's already happening now. So people are like, no, you're crazy. That'll never happen. It's already happening. They already have virtual casinos in New Jersey where you can go and play a machine virtually that's a real physical machine. So it'll be wild to see how that kind of intertwines with the online state-run and tribal gaming.
And for us to get prepared, I don't know if this prepares us or not, but we partnered with MyVegas.
Yeah.
And cool. We they're on our mobile app. And so you can play, play for fun games, accumulate points. You guys know the game. And that really works out really well for us. We get quite a few redemptions of, I think they had, don't quote me here, but I think they had over 400,000 people in their customers in their database in Southern California.
Wow.
And most of them were redeeming in Vegas because that's where their offers were. That's where they could redeem their offers. I believe we're the only one. I know we're the only ones with MyVegas. I know San Manuel has their own and so on and so forth. But with MyVegas, we're the only option for their customers in Southern California to come to do redemption. So
that's cool.
If we have a concert that's not selling out, or if we don't have, if we have room availability or golf availability or whatever it may be, we're really using that tool to get that message out to those customers. So, and on top of that, it's training people to kind of look at their phone and relate that to Sycuan.
Think about Sycuan.
Exactly. That's a big piece of why we went that direction as well.
It's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't realize they were doing that. But the MyVegas thing was cool because it was one where you're playing social. Right? I don't know how much you spent. And like the part of the gimmick is you're building the strip, right? So as you play more you create the Excalibur, right, or whatever. But then as you earn points or whatever, whatever the metric was, you go, oh, well, you've played enough. You can go to Bellagio and get a cocktail or 2 or whatever the thing was. And so now it sounds like they go, oh, you go to Sycuan and get a room or a drink or whatever the ticket merchandise is.
And with the pandemic, we kind of struck while the iron was hot because people weren't going to Vegas at that time. Now they are.
Come to the neighborhood.
The numbers are huge in Vegas, gambling numbers at least. So they wanted to redeem their offer, so they were coming to Sycuan to redeem their offer. So it was really good timing for us when we launched that.
Yeah, timing's everything.
Timing's important.
Well, and then your point, speaking of not to go all the way back, but like you're talking about cashless, the thing that jumps out to me is like if they could have, and I don't know who it would be, maybe it's Global Payments or Sightline or some of the big one of the bigger ones where you go, look, this is like the Venmo for gaming. Because the nice part about Venmo is like if you and I are betting on a golf, I go, let me just Venmo you.
Yeah.
You bet me all the time, we'll just Venmo back and forth, or you get lunch and I cut you my half on digital, and everyone takes it.
Yep.
Right. And so the nice part about that would be to the point, it's like, hey, it's a valid, like if there was some agency or I don't know how you would even do it, but you said, we know these are legit. They had to fill out a certain level of data that's casino compliant. But now I can just bang in and out of my Sycuan slot machine, and let's say I live closer to Verona, I bang in and out. Yeah, whatever. Like there's just, but like because to Rob's point earlier, it's like, do I really want 6 different apps? Like now, what are you doing? Like because especially in his market, I got to believe the customers, maybe not the top 10%, but some of those middle guys are jumping a couple different spots a week, right?
Like your player's card's almost like your profile, so you just Venmo yourself $50 to your, Sycuan player's card or MGM player, whatever it is.
It kind of brings back the challenge. If you guys remember, server-based gaming was a big thing, right? Yeah. And WMS and IGT were kind of the two, really. This was before all the consolidation and everything else, and it was the same thing. Like if we weren't playing nice in the sandbox, what good does it do if 20% of your floor is server-based?
Yeah, right.
And the other, whatever your IGT percentage isn't, or whatever, whichever you had server-based with, unless everybody was going to play nice in the sandbox and be able to kind of share that content somehow, server-based was never going to take off. And certainly I'm not insinuating that casuals will never take off. I think it will. I just think there has to be some changes, and there has to be some people working together, companies working together, really for it to be easier for not only us, the operator, but most importantly, the user, the customer.
Well, that was the thing that, and I don't want to, because it's somewhat of a negative comment, so I don't want to name the provider, but you go, we've done cashless multiple places, and you go, man, the problem for me was the time. Because you go to sign up, and it's like, okay, by the time I finally was approved to transfer my funds in, I could have already just stuck $200-300 in a game. Yeah. Like I didn't need to wait 20 minutes. Right. And then when you're going cash in, cash out, I didn't feel like that was really fast either. Cause Tito, you press it and you're holding the ticket. Yep. That one, it was like, all right, you're cashed out and you're kind of like, wait, it's not there, but it's not here yet. So you're just waiting for the minute where it goes all the way through the virtual system and then hits your phone. You're like, okay, there's my money. Right. So like, until that can become more instant, like, again, I hate to keep free ads for Venmo, but it's like, I Venmo you, it's there. Like I can literally look at you across the desk and go, you got it? Yep, got it. Okay, we're good. So it's just some user experience. I don't think
we're telling anyone about Venmo that doesn't know about it listening. They're like, Venmo, what is this thing?
But nowadays you have to disclose if you're promoted or not. So we are not sponsored by Venmo. We just happen to be.
Your biggest fans of Venmo, or your biggest haters of Venmo are your cheap friends. You pick up the tab. Exactly. Well, I'll pay you the 40, and you never see the 40. Now it's like, hey, just send it right now. We made a joke yesterday. We were watching the football games, and I was with a buddy who never pays his portion. And I told him, I'm going to set you up a pre-Venmo account. Like, just put 400 in it, and we'll just work it down.
Do you have a burner phone that you can Venmo it?
That's great. What a guy. That's so funny.
Do you think that server-based gaming, we just kind of went over it a little bit, but do you think that never has a place in this industry because people won't play in the same sandbox?
I don't ever like to say never, but I think it's ran its course.
Interesting.
The other thing is you get skeptical customers, right? I mean, we have customers that think we can just flip a switch and it changes the whole on all the games. And it's like, in a market like ours where people, we had a lady that was complaining about a quick hits and that the symbol was off. And I was telling her that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. And sure enough, we checked it, and it did. Now, it didn't change her pay at all, like the payback. It was just the symbol was just off. Yeah. And they know the game down to a point where they're telling you more than you know, because you're not sitting there playing 12 hours a day like they are.
Nope,
so it's I think with server based, there's that kind of thought in the back of players' head. What are they doing back there? That sort of thing. Right. I was always a fan of server based in our high limit room because you're limited on the number of games you can have in your high limit space. So if you could provide more product and more denoms and with just one cabinet, that's how we used to operate back at the Venetian and Palazzo. Is we had it mostly in our high limit space and maybe a few games outside. But those that were in the back of the house making the changes, they're going, Rob, it's easier just to do a conversion. Yeah.
It takes me 30 minutes to do that versus the other thing.
Yeah, so I think online will change that a little bit because you start looking at some of these online games and
that's
you can play any online game you want, which is on your MacBook Pro, whatever computer you use, and that's your cabinet essentially, right? And you can go play any game you want. When does that kind of get pushed over into brick and mortar where you're like, some of these online games are fun. I mean, they're really compelling.
Well, a lot of times the better part of the question is they're the same. When you look at the top, you said Quick Hits earlier. Quick Hits is online. Yeah. Buffalo is online, right? So like all the games they're playing, you could play online.
So when did we stop like the cutesy cabinet war and we just get a central base?
For game developers, online is awesome because they could put their game out to see how it does before they develop it for the floor, right? So. I remember, Jackpot Party Delight, jackpotparty.com. I mean, there were a lot of games that were put on that just to see how they would do, before there was a commitment to, that was a while back, but if you remember the days where you were delivering conversions with the glass and the button panels and all that stuff.
Let's take you back to 2009.
Wasn't that long ago?
Yeah, it really wasn't. I mean, it's funny when you talk about hardware in the cabinet, and I was 100% wrong on this. Years ago, I was thinking that the cabinet was just going to be agnostic and it was all about content, and then the Wave came out. Actually, I take that back. I would even say like the BBXD, which was the first slant top that WMS, not their first, but the first into this kind of new wave of ergonomics.
Screen.
And then the Wave came out and really changed things. And I'm a big believer now that hardware is a big component and to attract a player to the game.
Yeah,
and it's not just content. And it's interesting to see that because you definitely see this. This battle for the biggest and best cabinet, which 10 years ago I thought it was going to go in a different direction than that. So that's why I could be wrong about server base. So
I don't know
wrong
either.
about that.
We're all just guessing.
A lot of things I've been wrong about.
It would help the industry a lot, in my opinion.
Yeah, the hardware thing's always interesting, right? Because like you look at it and you go, I always ask players, like if I'm standing, I go, why'd you pick that game? Like certain games just become word of mouth. You get it, or you see enough people win. Like that's why you see the lightning links or the money links, right? And you see, go, okay, people are winning, they get it. But when you get a new game, why'd you pick that? Is it just because it's 12 feet tall? Like, is that that doesn't appeal to me? Oh, it's really tall. I'm going to play it. Like,
see, so I just that would appeal to you because you're really tall.
I like the fact that they're not discriminating against big stuff, right? But like, but it's to me, it's just like, hey, it's ultimately math. But I guess I get so jaded because I'm in the biz, right? So I hear, oh, this game's doing well. I'll go play it. Or that game's really paying. I'll go play it. But I always just wonder how like retail players walk in and go, oh, let's do that.
Walk the floor now versus 10 years ago and count the number of signs on a floor now versus 10 years ago. I mean, signs are gone. I mean, there's signs on the floor, but the signs are the game.
Yeah, with the toppers and the whole thing.
And you would think that would be a bad thing for the sign company, but it's these sign companies that are making these packages, right? So it's just turned from signage to wedges, part of the game and wedges and so on and so forth. So it's interesting to see how that form factor has really changed why people are interested in a game.
Yeah.
Be interesting the day when you can take 10 of your players into like a nice high limit area and they just log on to Sycuan.com or whatever and they can go pick between 100 games that they can just play right there on their laptop. Because all we really want to do at the end of the day is gamble.
Yep.
We want a game, right?
Well, that's it. So I had a buddy of mine who was a CIO for Pinnacle a long time ago, and he goes, Mike, I'm telling you, the future of the casino is thin client, which is basically to IT guys is what you just said.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a screen. Doesn't matter whose screen it is. And you can log in and go, okay, you know what? I like ATI games. I'm going to play Buffalo. And there you go.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you do that on the back end. Obviously, the technology is pretty complicated, but he was like, that's my call. He goes, because then what you'll do is you'll build really cool places to hang out.
Yeah.
And if you like music, like Rob's saying in the lobby, you got a band. You go, cool, I'm going to go sit by the band and listen to some tunes. And I got the screen right here and I'm gambling like I would have over there. My chair's a little more comfortable and I got the music going. And it's like, that was his prediction. I go, I love it. I'm on that journey, but I just don't know how. You're probably years away from that.
Forces people to create good games because then you can almost do like a 92 split. So anyone that plays Buffalo online, you pay 2% to the manufacturer for providing that whatever software or game to that platform.
Yeah.
But now you're not paying $35,000 for this 40-foot box that blocks your steak restaurant. I know everybody's
I love that you're just making up the splits. All the manufacturers like, you're fired. You're not working for us. Yeah, exactly.
Kill him.
What I found interesting when I was in a lot of what I did when I was in Singapore is that we would bounce around and check out a lot of the other markets.
Yeah.
And we were in, I want to say it was Malaysia or Vietnam, and they were, a lot of online rooms set up there where there's just a bunch of tables, dealing cards and nobody at the tables, and it's an online table.
Oh, they're playing live dealer online.
They're playing live dealer online in a room that's set up just like a studio. And so I'm thinking to myself, man, as you walk a casino floor at 10 in the morning and you've got 10 dealers standing around doing nothing, you got to open some tables up, right? Why couldn't you just take that concept and that technology to a live casino floor? Now, the answer to that would be, well, if a live player walked up, in a blackjack, there's only so many people that can play a blackjack product.
Yeah.
It would just say, online player here. I see that 10 years down the road if, regulatory
on property or whatever.
Because if you're going to play online, you can actually play on the casino floor at the Venetian or at the MGM or at Wynn and not in some room in Vietnam, and nothing against that. But that would be huge because it helps out the operator side of the business. It helps out the player side of the business, builds a little bit more trust in the online side of things. But again, the technology's there.
Pretty cool. You can
it's
bet
just
on
the
other
regulatory
hands.
there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the back betting program. I mean, that's big. I mean, to your point about the whole baccarat lesson, that was like one of the biggest parts of baccarat, right? Is
my first trip to Macau, I was playing blackjack and we were at the Wynn, and I made my bet and I won. And they gave me money, and they gave me more money. I'm going, all right, I'll take it, And I didn't know anything about back betting at that time. Right. And there was a lady behind me betting on my hand, and she flipped out, went like I was stealing her money. I said, no, I'm sorry. Here, take it back. But they stopped the game, 30 minutes looking at the camera. So that was my introduction to back betting. The whole table was looking at me like, come on, dude.
Hey, rookie.
Really? Yeah.
Give her due. Yeah. But it is weird, right? Because you sit there and she's not next to you. She didn't even tell you, hey, man, good luck. It's just she quietly goes, I'm with him. And now you're in an awkward situation where if you don't know, you're like, well, what is this, right? Like, what's this extra money?
Gave her right back, but she still went off. She
no
gave
dispute.
it to me.
Yeah, no dispute. Yeah, that's so weird.
I guess we just got a gambling story.
I was gonna say, ask him for a different one that he knows is coming, but
we are 50 minutes in, so
we can go
already.
That's what I was gonna say.
Crazy.
Wow. You see, certain guys we get on the pod, and it's like we could go 3 hours. We could pull the Rogan format and just sit here all day, but we do try to keep it to a 1 day's round trip drive to the office.
That's what we try. I mean, we could keep talking. I'd love to keep chatting.
Well, do you have a gambling story? Like we always ask everybody, do you have a memorable one, or one that maybe makes a little sense to share with the listeners versus, backroom off camera stuff?
So I have a good friend that I've met in Las Vegas. I won't name his name, but gambling with him is a lot of fun. So he goes all in. So he plays at the Wynn. Okay. I didn't ever even wanted to try to get him at the Venetian because I never wanted to mix. Yeah, he played at the Venetian once in a while. Don't get me wrong, but I never wanted to mix that business with gambling, and plus he would complain about everything anyway. So, but we were sitting and watching this guy gamble. I mean, he was betting. Table max was 10,000, so he would be bet 3 hands of 10,000. Wow. 30,000 out there. Get 2 aces, split those, get a double, double down, and you'd have $100,000 on the table, and it's pretty interesting to see that. Yeah. And certainly I don't experience that. It's kind of fun watching that. So when he comes to town, and he's been out at Sycuan a few times and played a little bit. Yeah. And we've upped the limits for him. We've actually upped the limits for all of our customers. Our limits were too low at Sycuan, but we've upped them. And we if we're going to go after that high end business, we got to meet their thresholds. So I don't have. I probably have a lot. I would just have to think through them. Okay. That's what comes. But watching him is a lot of fun to. And then you just get crowds of people standing around.
What? Yeah. He's just hammering all these bets. What? Maybe I don't know if you can give this away. What does he do that he's just rolling in, going, I don't care, 100 grand on this hand, let's do it? Like, is this his job? He's a professional gambler, or does he?
No, he's an investment guy. So he owns a brokerage firm and has. Like 15, 20 guys under him. And he does. And he's a gregreat guy, too. He's a total, I'll call him a total clown because he's just a fun guy. Yeah, right. Super smart. He's a good dude. But I met him when I was in Del Mar, when I lived in Del Mar and working for WMS. We were he was on a date, I was on a date. We were at the racetrack, and the girls didn't know each other. He and I started talking. Oh, you're from Vegas? I go to Vegas all the time. Next thing you know, he and I are hanging out, and we never even. I don't know that we finished the day. Yeah, he and I have been really good friends ever since. So, it was pretty funny.
I wonder if those two girls still talk.
They probably individually tell that story. I went on this date. The guy was great, but he ditched me for another guy. It was really weird. Oh man! But I always wonder that because you see, because there was always those stories like Michael Jordan going, well, he's betting 25 grand a hand, and you're going, yeah, but he's Michael Jordan, right? Like he's got the Nike shoe empire and all the NBA money. He's like, he's not blinking. Would I lose $20? He loses 25 grand, or probably even less than that, right? Yeah. But it's not even a thing for him. Whereas some of these guys, I'm like, well, how big of a deal is this right now? Like, are you like, oh, I need this to hit, or is it like,
So I'll give you one tomorrow. I don't think this is proprietary information. Yeah. So in Singapore, we had a room that was set up because baccarat, they just chase trends.
Right.
Not unlike roulette, I guess. Sure. So there was a gentleman that we had there, and in one of our private suites, we would set up like 15 tables, and they would just 15 dealers would just be, he would only be playing one, but wherever he saw a trend, he would just jump and run over to that trend. Interesting. So literally we'd have a whole room, like a mini casino set up just for this gentleman to be able to chase trends.
Bet his trends, yeah.
Yeah, and that's how big of a player he was. So to watch that, and you just see his kind of posse hanging out and him looking for the trend, and we'd have like a red light or green light for whether it's a banker trend or player trend or whatever it is. And it was really easy for him to identify, and he would run over there and.
That's wild. Like to me, like how much does the trend matter? I mean, obviously it matters to these guys, but the next hand's still the next hand, right? Like I feel like it's trending. That's what we're doing. Yeah, I'm the worst.
We had a guy. We would always get updates on our phone when I was at Venetian, and we had a guy that was down pretty significantly, and we're thinking, oh, we're gonna have a good day. We're gonna have a good day. And it was almost like making your own bet. You know, I was watching football. It was a Sunday, and I'm looking at my phone every 15 minutes. We're getting updates. He's losing. He was losing. He had 18 players in a row and got out of the hole. Wow. 18, and you know the odds of that happening, and got completely out of the hole.
I don't know the odds, but I can't imagine they're very high. It's probably slim odds, right? Like
trending. Hashtag
hello player.
It was enough to where we had to do a lot of surveillance investigation and everything else, but it was all legit and. Guy got out of the hole, so
I think that's funny when we talk to some of these bigger players and they're like, "Oh, they need me. They should be taking care of me." And it's like, man, you don't see their side of it. Like you're just as big of a risk bringing you in as you are like being a player.
They're gambling as well.
They're gambling on you just as much as you're gambling on them. So it's kind of an interesting.
The other thing I like is what a casino does is it kind of takes the celebrity out of being a celebrity. Because we get a lot of celebrities that come in and they think that we're just going to give them whatever they want because they're a celebrity. And it's like, well, you're going to gamble? We don't want you just being here doesn't do us a whole lot of good. And,
I don't need you to take a selfie
like,
with the burger.
They're like shocked, like, well, wait a minute, I'm so and so. It's like, well, sorry, so and so, you make a bet.
But I'm on Netflix.
It didn't work for us. Like, we have a podcast.
It kind of humbles them a little bit, which I like.
That's hilarious. Yeah, that is pretty funny.
Well, that's pretty awesome.
Well, we won't make you call out celebrities, but unless that's your challenge. Who would you like to see us? Who do you think would make a good episode in the future?
So I brought it up a little earlier. I think you guys, for various reasons, should talk to Charlie Skinner with Market Tracks.
Okay.
Yeah. Charlie and I go way back. Charlie and I started a business together right out of college.
Oh wow. What was that business?
So we had a inbound call center. So at that time, if you remember,
why wouldn't you?
There was this was before internet. I mean, internet was there, but certainly not used. But if you remember Las Vegas Reservation Systems, which was the first kind of Expedia, right? They ended up being bought by Expedia. They needed a company to answer all of their, and Tom was friends with the two owners of that. Charlie was friends with those two owners of that company, and so they asked, hey, we need somebody to answer our phone calls. So we opened up, a little office, and I had to apply to law school. My plan, I graduated undergrad in December, planned on going to law school in that August or September. And in that, 6, 7, 8 months, we started this little business just answering these calls. And then it just grew to, we had, 500 people answering calls for the power company, for catalog companies.
I did not expect him to say 500.
You walk in, you're like, man, he's got a lot of telephones.
It turned into a really good little business. And so anyway, we were young guys, got in over our heads and ended up selling it and getting out of it. But Charlie and is actually who got me the interview with WMS, and that's how I ended up in the business. But but when Charlie pitched Market Tracks to me before Market Tracks is what it is now, I said, Charlie, that could be the next Tito, right? Really, when you think about technology in our industry, there's really not. Yeah, of course, there's LED button panels and there's a lot of cashless wallet, all that stuff. That's all good technology, but what's really going to change the operation and getting low limit markers or credit into people's hands and them paying it back before they leave the building if they win. That's a big thing if you do it right, And I know they have some tweaks to work out, and I don't market for Market Tracks by any means. It's just it's a product that I'm interested in, and I think that he would give you a lot of fun stories, not only business-wise, but also personally.
Well, I don't know him well, but I've met him a couple times just here and there. Like Rob Bone introduced me to that. Hey, you guys got to know each other. Like, oh, cool. You talk, Bone Dog. You talk to him for 5 minutes. You're like, oh, you're going to be a personality to chat with.
Well, his family owns Piero's, the
I did not know.
Down right across. So he's got a lot of. I would spend maybe 30 minutes on Piero's and 30 minutes on business. And
at that point,
that would be a good interview.
Lunch.
We'll just that's it.
Have him bring you some stone crab claws.
That's it. Bring a little Italian by.
No, but that's what I would call. I think you guys would.
Awesome.
He knows everything about. I call him a lot when it comes because I get confused on the whole casual thing. I'll be honest with you. I don't know which way to go. And so he clues me in on a lot of what everybody has going on, and he'll talk highly of those that are doing a good job, and not so much
maybe frankly about the rest. Yeah, no, that's good.
So.
Well, that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that already.
Yeah. And he lives here, so it should be easy.
Bang, drive over here. All good. Well, we appreciate you coming by.
Man.
This has been fun.
Guys, I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
answering the bell from Kevin.
Guys.
Yeah, thank you.
This thing has turned into a pretty cool thing.
Thank you. Yeah, awesome. Well, let's hit it. Thanks,
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.